Hello BookTube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I am here today to do the Jane Austen July TBR. And I just got carried away and I was so excited, so I decided to wear my Regency inspired wedding dress. It's got the empire waist. Now, of course, I've since had to add the tank top to the outfit, but that's okay. I also have these fantastic little kind of Jane Austen silhouette earrings. Jason got those for me. So now, before I begin with the prompts and challenges and all the good stuff about Jane Austen July, you absolutely all must watch the Jane Austen Book Club. I'm going to be watching this on July 1st with Jason. It's one of our favorite movies. And this was based on a book, I believe, by Karen Joy Fowler, and the book is terrible. I DNF'd the book. But the movie really captures the spirit of some element to almost, to all Jane's 6 major works. And you know, there's not like necessarily one story that goes along with one character. They're all sort of woven together. And this year, because they are our hosts for Jane Austen July, Katie at Books and Things, Marissa at Blatantly Bookish, and Claudia at Spencer's Library, are focused on Mansfield Park and Persuasion. Those 2 books play a major part in this film. There's a fantastic scene at the beginning where 2 of the characters meet. They're standing in line to see the film adaptation of Mansfield Park, and talking about how it doesn't really, it's more of an interpretation of Mansfield Park. And then later in the film, Persuasion is discussed several times, and is the last book that they read in their book club. So anyway, I highly recommend this. If you love this movie as much as I do, please put your favorite quote from the film down in the comments section below. I would love to see that. Really, the only thing you need to do to participate in Jane Austen July is to read one of Jane's 6 major works. And so I will be reading Mansfield Park, which I have not read for a very long time, and I think I've only read it once. Now, in the film, Jane Austen Book Club, as I said, they talk about the film adaptation, and I think they're referring to the use in the film adaptation of one of Jane Austen's juvenilia, The History of England by Jane Austen. This is a copy that I got at the British Museum, and in addition to having the actual text, it also has what the real document looks like on Jane's handwriting. So that's really fun. And that's the second prompt, is to read something by Jane Austen that is not one of her major 6 novels. So essentially, we've got the film Mansfield Park, we've got the book, and then what I think is also incorporated into the film adaptation of Mansfield Park. So I know I'm combining several prompts right there, but nonetheless. Okay, prompt number 3 is to read a nonfiction work about Jane Austen or her time. Okay, I have so many. I've really doubled up in this. I found this in my library, so I just grabbed it. This is like it's a graphic novel, obviously, of about Jane Austen. It's called Jane Austen, Her Heart Did Whisper. It's by Manuela Santoni, and it was translated by Matteo Benassi. So I just found that all really interesting. But it's really about Jane Austen's time, her kind of brief romance with Tom Lefroy. And if you've ever watched the film Becoming Jane, with Anne Hathaway and James McAvoy, that'll ring a bell. This is super short, so I really feel like I will be able to get through that without much difficulty. The next one of you wonderful, amazing, incredible people sent to me. It's Austen Years, a memoir in 5 novels by Rachel Cohen. So each section is about, kind of a different chapter in her life and a different Jane Austen novel. So I'm really looking forward to this. This next book I have heard about from so many of you that I had to get it. I only bought 6 books at the end of 2020, and this was one of them, What Matters in Jane Austen by John Mullan. And I am thrilled to be reading this finally. So this is one of the books I'm most excited about on my TBR. Finally, a book I don't have here with me. Jason recently told me that he bought me a book. And this is The Genius of Jane Austen, Her Love of Theater and Why She is a Hit in Hollywood, by Paula Byrne. So I don't have the copy here yet. It's coming from Book Depository, so we'll see if I can manage to pull that into everything as well, but I am really excited about having that book. I also really want to recommend a book if you're looking for a nonfiction book to read about Jane Austen. I would really recommend Jane Austen's A Life by Claire Tomlin. I read this biography last year, and it may have been the best book I read in 2020. No joke. It's so good. It's not just I don't know, for Janeites or something like that. Like it's a really, really outstanding biography. So if you're looking for something, this is what I would recommend that you pick up. The next prompt is prompt number 4, read a retelling of a Jane Austen book. Now, I think we all know that retellings of Jane Austen are never actually as good as Jane Austen is, right? But again, once again, there are a few that I'm just really curious about, and I think I can somehow pull this off. So the first one is by Janice Hadlow. This is The Other Bennet Sister. This is about Mary Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, and again, I've just heard so many wonderful things about this book. So I went and did some shopping at our independent bookstore earlier this year, and I snatched this up knowing that Jane Austen July was coming. So I'm really excited to read this. I have actually 2 YA books, which is really interesting. I tend not to think of YA retellings of Pride and Prejudice, or any Jane Austen novel, but I actually marked this on my TBR last year. It's called Pride, and I apologize, I'm going to try to pronounce the author's name, Ibi Zoboi. I'm not sure. She is a National Book Award finalist, which I'm very impressed by, and the cover and the book itself is actually beautiful. So look at all that kind of rococo, and then our 2 main characters, and then these are the end papers. So there's our modern Elizabeth Bennet, and our young Mr. Darcy there. So this takes place in Brooklyn, and like I said, I marked it on my TBR last year, but I didn't realize it was a YA book. So I think I should be able to get through this, and I really want to. I'm really excited and curious about it. And then Claudia mentioned a book on her channel that amazingly my library had. This is a retelling of Persuasion. This is Where the Rhythm Takes You by Sarah Doss, and it is set on a seaside resort and in Tobago, of all places. And our main character, our main young woman, our Anne Elliot, if you will, works at this resort and had kind of a romance with another young man, and he comes back in all of his glory as a VIP guest, and he's a Grammy Award nominated musician, and they meet up again. And I really like the idea of a retelling of Persuasion. I think that's really fascinating. So yeah, I really feel like I should be able to get to those. I also checked out Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev. I don't know that I'll get to this one, but I just kind of wanted to have it here. Sometimes we do that, right? We just bring things home from the library. So prompt number 5 is read a book by a contemporary of Jane Austen. Now, I'm gonna skip this one, A, because I have so many other books, and B, if I'm going to read something from that time period, I really just want to read Jane. So I promise one of these days I will do that prompt, but if I have extra time somehow, I would really like to read Sense and Sensibility. I think I've only read it once, so that's criminal, right? So I'd really, really like to get to this, but I don't know that I will have the time for that. The last 2 prompts relate to film adaptations of Jane Austen novels. One is watch a direct screen adaptation of a Jane Austen book, which, I mean, last year, Jason and I really did in spades. We watched 4 versions of Emma, and talked about our favorite characters from each of the adaptations, and which was great fun. I'll leave a link to that video down below. But I also just wanted to mention, a lot of you criticized us for not watching Clueless. So I love Clueless. The first time I saw Clueless was on VHS, and I was a senior in high school, and a friend and I decided to go stag to the senior prom, and we watched Clueless before we went to prom, and it made it maybe the best prom of all. We wore fake tattoos, and I had this strappy velvet dress. It was great. And yeah, we just went around and quoted lines from the film all night long. So I love Clueless. Jason has said he is up for reading this, so I'm hoping I can persuade him to have a conversation with me about Clueless on my channel this year. Now, I've already mentioned I'm going to be watching Mansfield Park, definitely, but this is an adaptation, of course, of Persuasion, and so it's really quite short, 90 minutes maybe. It's got the wonderful Sally Hawkins. Really love Sally Hawkins. Jason sent her a fan letter. This is more than 10 years ago. And she actually responded and sent him a signed glossy photo or whatever. So we just think she's probably a really nice, kind person in the world. And then the actor in this is Rupert Penry Jones. Can someone please explain to me why he is not like a superstar? Like, he is so handsome, and they're both just wonderful. This is wonderful. I know it's not exactly Persuasion, okay? Like, Anne Elliot isn't running around Bath like crazy, but I just love it nonetheless. I've seen it so many times. And then if I do have time, I might watch some Sense and Sensibility. So this BBC adaptation is one of Jason's favorites, but in truth, I love them both. So we'll see if I can get to that. I'm going to be watching some TBR videos this weekend, but if you don't have a channel and you'd like to share with me your TBR for Jane Austen July in the comments section, I would love to hear that. If you have any thoughts, if you've read any of these books and loved them, hated them, whatever, I'd love to hear what you think down below. Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll be back with some more Jane Austen videos before you know it. We'll talk soon. Bye.